Hello everyone. So today we are going to discuss the Codeforces round 1019 div 2. Problem B. Binary typewriter. You're given a binary string S of length n and a typewriter with two buttons 0 and 1. Initially your finger is on the button 0. You can do the following two operations. You can press the button your finger is currently on and this will type the character that is on the button. And the second operation is move your finger to the other button. If your finger is on the button 0, move it to button 1 and vice versa. So there are two operations that you can do while typing the string. Okay, what are the two operations? You can actually press the button. So suppose your finger is on this button, you can actually press that button, or you can shift your finger from one button to the other. That is another operation. Okay, so just like this, shifting your finger from one button to the other is also a operation. So what are the two operations? Pressing the button, and the second kind of operation is shifting the fingers. So these are the two kinds of operation that are there. The cost of a binary string is defined as the minimum number of operation needed to type the string. So you have to minimize number of operations that is required in order to type the string. And that will be the cost of the binary string. Now before typing, you may reverse at most one substring of S. More formally, you can choose two indices L and R and you can reverse the string between L and R. Okay. So suppose be a string like this has been given to you 100110, right? So what you can do is you can select any substring. Okay, you can select any substring. All I'm showing is a substring, right? Starting from any index to any other index, and you can choose to reverse it. If I choose this substring, okay, or let's say if I choose this substring, what will be my S going to be? S will become, now this 0 will be here 001. Okay, I reversed this substring and the rest of the string is gonna be like that only. Okay, so this is my new string. Okay, so this operation of selecting a substring and reversing it, it can be performed at most one time. You can't do it again and again. So you're allowed to do this at most one time. Okay. So start with this string of ours. So initially our finger is at 0, isn't it? And we have to type 1. So what do we need? We need to shift our finger to 1 first, right? So that will be counted as one operation and then type this 1. Okay. Okay. Or we can think of it like this. See, we have to type all the characters, right? We have to type all the characters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And typing, like the pressing the button, is one operation. So obviously, you have to press the button 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, right? So that is already 6, right? Because of pressing the button, right? Just count how many times do we have to shift our finger. So when we start with here, we have to obviously shift our finger back to 1, right? Because initially our finger is at 0. So we have to shift our finger, that is 1 time. Now we again have to shift our finger back to 0. So 2. Now typing 0 again, no problem. Now we again have to type 1. So we shift our finger. So that's 3. Typing 1 again is not a problem because our finger is still at 1. And while going back to 0, we have to shift our finger again. So that's total of 4 shifts. So there's a finger shift at the very beginning. There's a finger shift over here. There's a finger shift over here. And there's a finger shift over here. So how many total number of finger shifts are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 6 plus 4. And the answer is going to be 10. That's the cost of this string. But what we can do is we can modify it. We can modify it by reversing a substring of it. So for example, this is our modified substring. Let's calculate the cost of this modified string. Now if you see this string, starting from here, our finger is already at 0, right? Now obviously we have to type the 6 characters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 operations we have to perform just by pressing the button. Now we just have to count how many times do we need to shift our finger. Initially there is no requirement of shift because our finger is already at 0. Okay, 0 again, no problem. Now there is a shift over here, right? There's one finger shift over here. Okay, then 1, 1, 1, no problem. Our finger is at 1 now. Now we can type 1 again and 1 again. And then there's a finger shift over here. So there are a total of 2 finger shifts. So now the cost of this string has reduced to 8. So our task is to first of all reverse a substring, right? Such that the cost that we get is the minimum possible. So how do we do this question? So now we have to think about which substring should we reverse. That's the main question, right? Which substring to reverse? So let's say that there is some substring. Let's say we have a string S and we select a particular substring from here to here. Now, what is the total cost of a string as we have discussed before? the total cost of string is total size of the string, that is n, and plus the number of finger shifts, right? And the number of finger shifts is nothing but basically the total number of changes that you see from 0 to 1 or from 1 to 0. Over here, if you see, there is a change from 0 to 1, and then there's a change from 1 to 0. So basically, we can say that n plus the total number of changes, right? And be mindful that in the total number of changes, we are also including the very first change. If the very first character is 1, so we are changing here as well, right? Because our finger is at 0. Okay. So that is n plus the total number of changes. Okay. That is what our cost is, right? Now, how is reversing a substring helping? So let's say if I have over here 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, something like this. Okay, and let's say if I reverse this substring, so let me just make a copy of it. So it will become 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, isn't it? Obviously, we are not changing the size of our string, right? The size of our string is going to be the same. The size is going to be same. Reversing will not change the size. But what we can change is the total number of changes. But let's see. So if we just take out this substring, let's calculate the total number of changes. 1, 2, 3. So there's a total of 3 changes over here, right? Now let's talk about the substring that's below. Over here, if we see 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the number of changes don't change, right? Basically, in order to write this substring or in order to write this substring, the total number of finger shifts is the same. So how is that helping? It is helping if there was a 0 over here. So if there is a 0 over here, what will happen? So in case if there's a 0 over here, you have to change your finger from 0 to 1, right? That's one operation. But after that, you have reversed your substring. You don't need that. So you might save a cost over here. Okay. So the cost is being saved at this point, right? The cost can also be saved like this. Let's say there was a 1 over here. Okay. So while typing out this string, from 0, we have to shift back to 1, right? So we have to count one more operation over here, right? But now, since this 1 is over here, we don't need to shift fingers anymore. We can write this 1 easily, isn't it? So we save another operation over here. We saved another operation at this point. So how many total operations do we save? So we save a total of 2 operations. So which substring do we have to reverse? So we have to reverse this kind of substring. Obviously, internally, the number of changes, we can't change it even by reversing it. But what we can change is outside, right? The outside, since there was a shift required after changing it, after reversing it, there is no shift required over here, right? So now what kind of a substring do we need? Initially, our finger is at 0, right? Initially, our finger is at 0. So if there are zeros over here, that is good for us because we just have to type it. But if there is a 1, then there's a problem, right? So let's say there are zeros and the 1 is over here, okay? So initially our finger is at 0. Then we type this, type this, type this. Then there's a change. Then we type this, then there's a change. And then there's a change again. And then we type this, right? So what is the cost now? For now, what is the cost for this string? Let's calculate. So first of all, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's a size of 9. How many changes? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 changes. So the cost is 13 as of now. Now let's try and reduce the cost. So you see over here that this is filled with zeros, right? Isn't it? And now we have a 1 over here. So we can select a substring from here such that we can bring a 0 over here. Okay. So we can select a substring like this, right? We can select a substring like this also. And we can select a substring like this as well, right? So which substring should we select? We can be sure that if we bring a 0 over here, we can reduce the cost by 1, right? So let's say this is our initial point of our reversal. Let's call this L. Okay. Now we have to find R. Our R could be here, our R could be here, our R could be here. If we consider our R over here, right? Now this 1 is going to come over here, isn't it? So we will be saved from this shift also, isn't it? If we consider L and R to be this, what will our new substring be? Let me make a copy of it. So our new substring is going to be 0, 1 and 1, right? So in this case, we reduce our cost over here and we reduced our cost over here as well, because it's 1 and 1. There's no shift required. Initially there was a shift required, right? And over here there was a shift required, but now there is no shift required. So we saved a total of 2 costs. Okay, so what is the new cost now? New cost now is going to be 11. You can calculate that. So the size of the string is 9, and let's calculate the total number of shifts. There's no shift up until here, 1, and there's 2 shifts. So 9 plus 2 is 11. Okay, let's say if our R was here, okay, if this was our R, then how will our string look? It's going to be 0 1 0 1 1. Okay, so but naturally we saved our cost over here because it's 0. Okay, but we are not able to save our cost at this end because there's a shift required from 1 to 0, right? And internally we have discussed the cost remains the same. The only place where you can actually reduce the number of operation is at the extremes. Within the substring, the number of shifts between zeros and ones still remain the same. So what is the total cost? So obviously size of the string is 9 and total shifts is 1 2 3 4. So it's still 13. Now what if our R is over here? Okay, so let's check out for this one as well. So it's 0 0 1 0 1 1. Now let's calculate the cost. So no cost of shifting up until here. 1 2 3. 9 plus 3, that's 12. So which one is the minimum one? This one. Okay, so we can't select every 0, right? We can't just select any 0 in the substring and make it go at the first place. We have to be careful of something. We have to be careful that, see, we're sending this 1, right? We are sending this 1 to the back. Okay, so if it goes to the back, it should combine with some other ones, just like it did over here. What happened? We saved our cost over here, and we saved our cost over here. We saved our cost at 2 places. So that's why our cost reduced by 2. Now the question is, how can we actually do that? Remember, we are starting with 0, right? Okay, so what is our task? Our task is, first of all, is to find the first one that occurs in the string. Okay, our first one occurs here. Okay, and obviously the things that are before it is zeros. Basically, we have not changed our fingers up until here. We have to change our finger here. Now we have to avoid that. How do we avoid that? We have to bring 0 here from somewhere. Now there must be a 0, okay, at some point in the string. There must be a 0 at some point in the string, right? Now there can be multiple zeros. Now the question is, which 0 should I bring? Which 0 should I bring? Isn't it? If I bring this 0, what happens? If I bring this 0, what happens? Now, the 0 that I'm supposed to bring, see, if I bring this 0 over here and I bring this 1 over here, right? I basically do this, right? I make this 0 go there. I make this 1 come here. So 0 came here and 1 came here. Initially, we need to shift our finger. Now, we don't need to shift our finger at this point. Now, at this point also, we are trying to save our cost, right? At this point also, we are trying to save our cost. So it can only be saved if there was a 1 over here, right? If there was a 1 over here, isn't it? Only if there was a 1 over here, we will be happy. Like, oh, we don't need to shift our finger, right? So which 0 should I select? I should select the 0 which is together with 1. Okay, I should select the 0 which is followed by a 1. That is it. That is my criteria for selecting the 0, and we will be able to reduce the cost by 2. And that is our approach. We basically search for the first one. Then we search for 0 which is followed by 1. You have to search for a pattern like this, 0 and 1. That is it. And suppose we got this index as L, and suppose we got the index of this 0 as R. What do we have to do? We have to select the substring from L to R, and then we have to reverse the substring between L and R. That is it. And simply calculate the cost of the string. This is going to be our approach. Okay, so let's see its code implementation. First of all, this is just a function that will calculate the cost of the string. So that is, first of all, it takes into account the size of the string, and initially your hands is on 0. In the variable result, I'm gonna store how many times do we have to change our hand? How many times do we have to change our finger? Okay, so as we move along the string, we extract the integer, whether it is 0 or 1 in the integer format. And if it is not equals to the number on which my hand is on, then I have to change my hand, right? I have to change my hands from 0 to 1 or from 1 to 0. And I have to increment the result. Remember, what is this result counting? The number of times you have to change your hand, the number of times you have to shift your finger. And finally, we will return the total number of finger shifts plus the total size of the string. This is what we're gonna return. Now let's look at the actual code. We start by taking in the size of the string and then we take in the input of the string. Okay. Our first job is to determine L. What is L? We search for the first one, right? We start with 0. While s of L is 0, we keep on incrementing the L. So this loop will break when s of L is equals to 1, right? This is when the loop is gonna break. So at L, we found the index where 1 is occurring first. Now we have to search for R. Now R is gonna be where there's a 0 followed by 1, right? So we say, first of all, we say that R is at the end of the array, and then we start from L plus 1, we go to the end, and we say if s of idx is 0 and it is followed by 1, we just say R is idx and we break out the loop. Okay, we break out of the loop, and finally we reverse the string and then we calculate the cost. That is it, and that is how we solve the question. We find L, we find R, we do the reversal, and then we calculate the cost. Hope it helps.